She has bachelor degree in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia in business IT. And she was also a Fulbright awardee with master degree in economic back in 2018. And she has practical 10 years experience in banking and finance service industry, also digital marketing industry, once a treasury dealer, and now she has entered academia under Ministry of Religion, and also investor, financial advisor, and digital marketer. To Mr. Novita Alfinuri, BSc MA, the time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi sholli sadri wa yassir amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli wa rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Walhamdulillahi wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi washabihi ajmain. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our international webinar, Islamic Public Finance, a solution to face global recession. This is a joint event with the Faculty of Islamic Economics and Business, UIN Antasari Banjarmasin, in collaboration with Faculty of Islamic Studies, University Islam, Indonesia, Yogyakarta. In the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most beneficent, most merciful, all praise to Him, the Lord of the world, who has been giving us His blessings and mercies, so that we are all here today in a healthy state to attend this international webinar titled Islamic Public Finance on the 25th of November 2022. And only by His will, we, inshallah, will reap the most benefit from this seminar. Salawat and salam are always given to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who taught our people to attain contentment and prosperous life in this world and the hereafter. Amen. Hereby, I give thanks to our host, who has given me a chance to introduce myself. My name is Novita Alfinuri, and I am more than humbled and honored today to be serving as your moderator for this event. Today, we'll be hearing from two of our speakers. And before we get started and discuss the issues, challenges, and developments in recent Islamic public finance, specifically in Southeast Asia and in the globe, post economic recession, I wanted to take a few minutes of your time to briefly introduce to you all to the topic of our discussion for today. The World Bank recently predicted that 2023 would be a global recession. This has been echoed by the Minister of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia, Sri Mulyani, who envisioned that the world economy will be hit by a recession in 2023. So the decision of central banks around the world is to joint raise interest rate at extreme levels in order to tackle inflation, to suspect, and potentially to halt recession triggers. There are several factors which will be explained and elaborated by our speakers today on how does Islamic economics respond to this global problem. So how is it that Islamic economists maintains the status quo and contribute to boosting the world economic growth? Ladies and gentlemen, first I would like to introduce to you our speakers for today. Firstly, we have Dr. Siti Achiria. She is based Dr. Asiti Achiria attained and based in undergraduate program of Islamic economics in main campus Leman, Yogyakarta. She has attained her bachelor studies in economic faculty of UI in management, then has magister management under University Mitra Indonesia, Yogyakarta, and then she pursued further graduate studies in UIN Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta in Islamic economics. Her expertise in both research and publication in economics, math, Islamic public finance, among her paper is the implementation of Islamic studies, business ethics in digital wallet, and also business venture e-commerce in the Islamic economics perspective. And we will hear more of her perspective today. We will hear more of her perspective today when she will be talking to us about the ZISWAF. So without further ado, please, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome Dr. Siti Achiria to the virtual stage to represent her material. Dr. Siti Achiria, the time and space is now yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Novita, right?
Yes, Dr. Siti.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yang saya hormati, the Dean of FEBI, UIN Antasari Banjarmasin. Thank you for the opportunity for me to sharing or to presentation about recession and ZISWAF in this opportunity. The Honorable the speaker, Associate Prof. Dr. Asma Binti Abdurrahman from University of Malaya, Malaysia. Then in this time, I will try to share about the title, could ZISWAF as a way of economic recession in Indonesia. Allow me to share my screen. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I would like to tell about this WAF in here, about how to collaborate. I mean, the relation with recession in Indonesia. And this time, I'm sorry because I'm not fluent in speak English. I will mix two language. Okay. The recession 2023, well, it happened. We can see in several news that Sri Mulyani said that awas resesi, Sri Mulyani shock in di 2023 bukan kaleng-kaleng. And then be added by IMF, prediksi ekonomi dunia gelap di 2023, Sri Mulyani bukan menakut-nakuti. This is the signal that the recession it will become in the next year. But what is recession? From the dictionary, we say that recession is a period of temporary economic decline during which trade and industrial activity are reduced, generally identified by a fall in GDP into successive quarters. And in Tempo, Jakarta, resesi adalah kondisi ekonomi negara yang sedang memburuk dan terlihat dari produk domestik bruto yang negatif, yang terjadi pengangguran meningkat, hingga terjadinya pertumbuhan ekonomi real yang bernilai negatif selama 2 kuartal berturut-turut. It means that there are 3 indicators from recession. The first is gross domestic product has declined for 2 years. Then number 2 is unemployment increases. And the third, real economic growth is negative. Okay. We will talk about what is gross domestic product. Gross domestic product in Indonesia we call product domestic bruto. As simple, it means the turnover on omset, omset, all total sales. GDP we can see from market. We can say market turnover, omset pasar. Market turnover is the total sales of all traders in the market in one period. Maybe there is pedagang cabai, pedagang timun, pedagang bawang putih, bawang merah, and so on. Then the regional turnover is the total of all economic activities in an area, like market traders, and then service traders, jadi pedagang jasa, and then maybe cement traders, pedagang semen, car traders, house traders, and so on, in one region as omset daerah. Then in Indonesian turnover, it means PDB Indonesia or GDP Indonesia is total turnover from all region in Indonesia in one period, which is calculated at the end of each quarter. Jadi about PDB we count kuartalan, 4 bulanan sekali gitu. It means that need so many time to calculate about PDB. Okay. And then employment. Unemployment is a situation that describes the non-participants of workers who are actually productive in the production process because the number of jobs is smaller than the available workforce. We can see in this picture, there is tingkat pengangguran terbuka or TPT yang menurun dari tahun 2020 ke 2021. Di sini untuk TPT universitas, lulusan from diploma, from SMK, from SMA, from SMP, and from SD, we can see that the most unemployment from SMK, yeah, 11.45%. Okay. Then what is the real economic? Real economic, it means that money circulation. We know from people who will work, they get wage, gaji, which kemudian be used for consumption, for buying something, or maybe buy of pendidikan, education, maybe buying of some services they need. Then there is any circulation of money. Sometimes from his revenue, they can save. Yeah, he can save in bank. And then bank give some, like in bank syariah, bagi hasil, profit sharing. Then it flow anymore. Yeah, to be revenue for the people who save money in the bank. Nah, cost of the real economic is money circulation. Sometimes obstruction of the circulation of money make some recession. Yeah, recession. It means that recession is a report card of past economic performance and does not reflect the future of a country's economic, let alone the future of your economy. Jadi ketika kita melihat bahwa ada ekonomi yang real itu seperti apa, gitu ya. Jadi di sini ada perputaran dari penghasilan seseorang yang dibelanjakan untuk konsumsi, ya. Dari misalnya seorang guru memiliki pendapatan yang itu digunakan untuk menyekolahkan anaknya, untuk mengkonsumsi makanan sama food, kemudian anak itu kemudian bisa bersekolah, begitu ya. Nah, sementara untuk makanan yang dibeli oleh ibu guru tadi, mungkin dari makanan ayam, misalnya begitu ya, yang ayam itu diperoleh dari perusahaan tertentu, yang perusahaan tertentu itu membutuhkan makanan ikan, makanan ayam. Nah, dari situ kemudian perusahaan pedagang ayam tadi pun membutuhkan makanan ayam dari tempat yang berbeda, sehingga terjadi perputaran uang. Gitu. Nah, recession di sini berarti bahwa ini adalah penilaian ya masa lalu dari sebuah kinerja ekonomi suatu daerah atau suatu bangsa, begitu ya. Dan tidak merefleksikan masa depan ekonomi suatu daerah atau suatu negara gitu. Nah, apalagi atas refleksi masa depan ekonomi kita atau pribadi, karena recession is scope of macroeconomic. Then can zakat, infak, alms, wakaf, I call this one, can play a role in anticipating during a recession. And here I prefer to think about anticipating, not to solve, because this work can be created from now before recession in next year. From here we can see before and in the time of we got pandemic, there is economic shutdown. It means that the cessation of economic activity indirectly kills economic growth at the same time in the world and Indonesia too. Then after that become crisis, commodity and food material crisis, and inflation everywhere. Then we must bangkit, revive. There is social care. Indonesia is a country with a high level of concern for each other. This is the opportunity that we have to build, to revive our economy. And the fourth is ISWA. The important role of ISWA in fulfilling basic commodities among the lower middle class. There is some important from ISWA that we can hope from here. Maybe can solve the problem of elevation of kemiskinan, maybe about welfare, kesejahteraan juga gitu ya. Then after that we must try to keep our life relate with maslahah, maqasid syariah, fulfillment of maqasid syariah and creation of maslahah. From this, I begin from the score index literacy, zakat and wakaf. From zakat, we can see that in here in 2020, rentang indeks literasi tentang zakat bagus ya, masih pada posisi moderat, dan but not in score index literasi wakaf per provinsi in 220. From the data, we can look for the value of the National Zakat Literacy Index, I call ILZ. Berdasarkan hasil perhitungan yang telah dilakukan, nilai ILZ secara nasional pada tahun 2020 berada pada angka 66,7, 66.7. That means that in category moderate. But although they community know about zakat, but there is no aware how to pay and the awareness of how to pay still low. Then value of National Waqf Literature Index or ELW still low in score 50.48. It means they still need to give literate in here. If we look for the potensi zakat di Indonesia tahun 2020 ya, ternyata cukup besar ya. Dari zakat pertanian kita bisa mendapatkan 19,79 triliun. Dari zakat peternakan terdapat potensi 9,51 triliun. Dari zakat uang 58,76 triliun. Zakat penghasilan dan jasa 139,7 triliun dan zakat perusahaan 144,5 triliun. The total is from potensi zakat ya ada 327,6 triliun. Ini adalah potensi yang sangat besar dari zakat. Dan itu pun didukung oleh tersedianya organisasi penghimpun zakat ya yang mengalami pencerahan gitu ya, dari yang hanya Basnas ya awalnya, kemudian berkembang di situ ada Basnas level provinsi, level kabupaten atau kota, kemudian juga ada lembaga amil zakat yang berlevel nasional, provinsi serta kabupaten atau kota, yang saat itu di tahun 2019 terdapat 572 ya pengelola zakat. Artinya di sini adalah potensi yang sangat besar gitu, yang harapannya bisa meningkatkan taraf hidup masyarakat Indonesia. Then we move to wakaf. Ternyata wakaf juga memiliki potensi yang sangat besar ya. Sekitar 180 triliun ya di tahun 2022. Namun baru terkumpul 1,4 triliun gitu. Nah, dari sini hal yang sangat menarik ya, di mana wakaf itu punya keunggulan ya, punya spesifik bahwa wakaf itu pokok wakafnya harus tetap. Sementara manfaatnya adalah yang bisa ditasarufkan. Artinya apa? Artinya bahwa ketika kita mengumpulkan wakaf ya, baik itu wakaf bergerak maupun tidak bergerak ya, ternyata bisa menjadi dana abadi ya, atau aset tanah yang abadi begitu, yang itu bisa diproduktifkan. Ketika kita memiliki dana yang sangat besar dari wakaf gitu ya, wakaf uang khususnya gitu ya, maka ketika menjadi endowment fund ya, suatu ketika sudah terkumpul dalam jumlah besar, maka kita tidak perlu meminjam ya dari bank, kira-kira begitu ya, karena kita bisa mengelola sendiri uang itu ya, uang wakaf itu, karena nggak boleh hilang, boleh dipinjam kemudian dikembalikan lagi gitu ya. Dan itu pernah terjadi ya di Mesir ya, ketika di Al Azhar begitu sudah terkumpul endowment fund ya, dan abadi dari wakaf uang, dan itu tidak habis dipakai ya. Akhirnya negara berkesempatan untuk meminjam dana abadi itu. Gitu. Nah, ini hal yang menarik yang sepertinya belum tergali dengan baik ya, karena gaungnya wakaf uang itu masih sedikit begitu. Namun demikian sangat saya apresiasi ya dari Badan Wakaf Indonesia ya, yang sudah mulai memberikan pelatihan begitu ya secara masif kepada para nadir. Mengapa? Karena nadir-nadir yang ada di Indonesia itu masih sangat membutuhkan literasi ya. Literasi tentang berwakafan, bagaimana mengelola wakaf, karena wakaf itu sebuah bisnis. Yang harapannya ketika berbisnis itu pasti orientasinya adalah profit. Dan di situ karena wakaf maka ada orientasi yang bersifat sosial. It means that kalau misalnya wakaf ini berkembang gitu ya, yang dimana nazir-nazir tadi sudah bisa memproduktifkan aset tanah wakaf, aset wakaf uangnya, maka harapannya ini bisa menjadi sesuatu yang sangat memungkinkan untuk bisa dikembangkan. Terlebih lagi wakaf memiliki keluasan ya, keluasan dalam pentasarufannya. Not as zakat. Zakat di atau 60 kebetulan hanya dispesifikkan untuk 8 asnaf saja. Sementara wakaf tidak ya, wakaf bisa digunakan untuk apapun selama itu sesuai dengan ketentuan syariah. Nah, teman-teman, di sini kita melihat how can this effort be carried out? Jadi bagaimana bisakah yang namanya ziswaf itu menjadi salah satu alat untuk mengantisipasi resesi gitu. Artinya mengantisipasi adalah sebelum terjadi resesi kita sudah mempersiapkan diri begitu. Dan resesi ini pun sebenarnya tidak perlu kita takuti ya, karena resesi itu sifatnya yang global begitu ya. Sementara kita belum tentu, karena resesi itu boleh dibilang sebagai rapot ya, rapot yang sudah terjadi. Gitu. Kadang kita nggak sadar bahwa kemarin itu resesi. Ya, tapi karena laporannya itu setelah terjadi begitu ya, dan harus 2 periode berturut-turut, maka itu menjadi last report gitu. Nah, kita lihat di sini. Indonesian people have a high sense of generosity. Jadi kedermawaan masyarakat Indonesia itu cukup tinggi, and even Indonesia won the 2022 World Giving Index. Jadi Caritas Foundation itu membuat semacam level begitu ya, dan ternyata Indonesia menjadi yang terdermawan begitu. Nah, artinya apa? It shows that the will, jadi hand to hand to serve community itu sangat mungkin untuk to be realized. Begitu. Then this mutual assistance efforts can be carried out through philanthropy. Jadi bagaimana kita bergandeng tangan, ya, berkontribusi oleh masyarakat untuk masyarakat, gitu ya. Kita bisa melalui yang namanya financial instruments, Islamic financial instrument that we call zakat, infak, alms, and wakaf, jiswaf. Nah, ini membutuhkan elaborasi yang lebih dalam, bagaimana zakat itu berkontribusi, infak, sedekah, dan wakaf itu, ya, karena masing-masing memiliki karakter yang berbeda. Nah, the solution yang bisa kita tawarkan, ya, offered by the Islamic social finance dari zakat, infak, sedekah, dan wakaf, ya. First, with creative, innovative, and professional fund management, JISWAF funds that are utilized for beneficiaries of JISWAF will be able to trigger economic independence for their families. Artinya bahwa kita sebagai umat Muslim rasanya harusnya tergerak, ya, untuk bagaimana memanfaatkan instrumen JISWAF, ya, secara kreatif, secara inovatif dan profesional, ya, dalam mengelola manajemen agar bisa berkontribusi, ya, karena kalau ini sudah sudah berjalan begitu, ya, dengan baik, gitu, ya, bisa mendatangkan tambahan penghasilan, gitu, ya, karena banyak di musim pandemi kemarin mungkin ada yang kehilangan pekerjaan begitu, ya. Nah, harapannya ini bisa membantu untuk menambah pendapatan begitu. Nah, kemudian juga the form of JISWAF funds can also be provided in the form of free training programs for people who have been laid off, as well as encouraging useful entrepreneurial activities. Jadi sekarang ini kita mengenal adanya UMKM, ya. UMKM sangat berperan, ya, untuk menumbuhkan perekonomian yang ada di Indonesia. Nah, ini ternyata JISWAF itu bisa bersinergi, ya, untuk bagaimana masyarakat yang tadi unemployment, gitu, ya, bisa memiliki skill, ya, bisa memiliki skill, mungkin bisa dengan berdagang atau jasa tertentu begitu yang bisa dilatihkan dari dana JISWAF itu agar bisa berdaya, gitu, ya, berdaya akhirnya memiliki pendapatan begitu. Number third, JISWAF can play a role in reducing the impact of the impending recession. Nah, ini sebuah harapan yang kalau kita persiapkan dari sekarang tentu saja akan berpengaruh, ya, berpengaruh bagus, ya. Artinya ketika resesi itu kan level dunia, ya, kadang kita tidak terlalu terimbas, teman-teman. Karena apa? Karena kita bisa menyiapkan, ya, pada level mikro begitu. Sehingga kita tidak perlu istilahnya terprovokasi atau terpengaruh oleh berita-berita yang kadang itu hanya menakut-nakuti kita, ya. Apalagi kalau kita amati di desa-desa, ya, in village, ya. I think no don't know about recession too, ya. Ya, they can eat, they can doing everything, ya, for his life, and jadi tidak terlalu dipusingkan, ya, oleh yang namanya resesi ini begitu. Artinya di sini bahwa kita bisa melihat bahwa resesi itu apakah berpengaruh pada diri kami, pada diri kita atau tidak begitu. Okay, number 4, this was with the concept of being a place of worship that also has a social dimension will play a role in reducing the gap in the distribution of wealth in society. Artinya bahwa JISWAF itu luar biasa, ya, sebagai konsep peribadatan itu sangat erat, ya, kaitannya dengan peradaban begitu. Artinya bahwa ketika dimensi sosial itu terhubung oleh JISWAF, maka harapannya di situ secara ekonomi, secara kesehatan, keamanan, pendidikan, dan sebagainya bisa tercover oleh JISWAF. Artinya di situ harapannya betul-betul tidak ada gap, ya, antara yang kaya dan yang tidak kaya. Terlebih lagi saat ini sudah ada wakaf uang, cash wakaf, ya, cash wakaf. We can give our alms, khususnya wakaf, ya, tanpa menunggu kaya. We thought that we must rich before, karena wakaf uang sekarang hanya dengan nominal yang secukupnya, semampu kita pun sudah bisa berwakaf. Jadi pernah Badan Wakaf Indonesia kalau tidak salah ya memiliki gerakan 2000-an ya, just 2000, tapi terhimpun ya sampai 600 juta ya. Ini luar biasa teman-teman ya. Ini jadi tantangan tersendiri. Saya kurang tahu apakah di FEBI Win Antasari sudah ada lembaga wakaf uang yang mengelola wakaf dari teman-teman di Sivitas Akademika di FEBI, saya kurang tahu ya. Tapi kalau di UI sudah ada ya, etkal lembaga wakaf uang Unisia begitu. Dan terakhir, by means of this WAF, the assets of those who have excess will be distributed to those who are lacking, so that the goal of the common good is achieved in the form of economic welfare as well as reducing the amount of poverty. Nah, harapannya dengan kita punya ZISWAF, kita berdayakan dengan sistem yang baik, yang terintegrasi, yang komprehensif, tentu saja ini menjadi sesuatu yang sangat besar kemanfaatannya gitu. Dan rasanya hal-hal yang kreatif yang terkait dengan penghimpunan, pengembangan, serta pendistribusian zakat, infak, sedekah, wakaf perlu kita gali bersama untuk bisa mewujudkan yang namanya terhindar atau kita bisa face ya, bisa menghadapi yang namanya resesi di tahun 2023. Nah, hal ini tentu saja menjadi hal yang sangat kita harapkan karena itu menjadi salah satu tujuan Islam, ya tujuan hidup syariah, di mana kita mengacu pada maqasid syariah, gitu ya. Dan di situ harapannya nanti dari 5 poin yang ada ya, kita bisa menjaga religion, life, intellectual, dignity, and property, kita bisa terjaga dengan baik begitu. I think enough for me. Saya kembalikan kepada moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, Dr. Siti Aciria. That was a very comprehensive and interesting materials we had for today. How we can see distinguished participant, ladies and gentlemen, on how could this WAF be a way out of economic recession in Indonesia. She has taught us this reduced unemployment from the data, and she has taught us today how real economics, how it is used by consumption, promotes higher circulation of money use, which then be saved to the banking system, and that recession is created by the obstruction of that, the obstruction of circulation of money from purchasing goods and services. Then we informed to how to anticipate using this swap to counter that. And we do very much agree that anticipating is key to each cycle of global recessions. And I mean, we hope to also revive lives and dignity. Inshallah, we can in the future probably have endowment center or the Lembaga Wakaf also like the we has. So from that, we thank you very much, Dr. Siti, for the presentation, for the first presentation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to move on to another presentation from our second speaker, the Associate Prof. Dr. Asmak Binti Abrahman. Associate Prof. Dr. Asmak is an associate professor from the Department of Sharia and Economics, Academy of Islamic Studies. She is head of the department she was head of department University Malaya back in 2020 to January 2022. She was also a member committee of curriculum evaluation department of Sharia Economics. She was a national fellow 2021 to 2022 and also head of department University Malaya back in January 2020 until the January 2022. Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Professor Dr. Asmak Binti Abdurrahman to the virtual stage. The time and space is now yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Siti Aciria. It's a pleasure to be here. And I would like to start with a short introduction. My name is Dr. Asmak Binti Abdurrahman. I'm a Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Ibu moderator, Ibu Novita, yang saya hormati rakan panelis Dr. Siti Ashiria, bapa-bapa dekan, panitia, seterusnya participant for this international conference. So it's my great pleasure to share this platform with all of you, and I think based on what Dr. Siti Ashiria have shared, it will be easier for me to share a little bit from Malaysian experience, because Dr. Siti has shared all the theoretical part on the recession and the real economy and everything, which make me easier to explain from a Malaysian experience. Okay, so let me share my slide. Okay, so when we talk about Islamic finance, okay, is it can be a solution to face global recession? So a little bit on when we talk about the public finance, actually in the beginning, actually we understand that public finance, which is relating to the role of the government in the economy. So how the government collect and spend money, and how the government play their role in terms of fulfilling, okay, the mandate that has been given by the community or by the society in that particular country. And in terms of the role of the government, we know that in particular, okay, the government have to maintain and improve the welfare of the people, okay, either in the situation of there is recession or if there is no recession. And also the government have to protect the people from harm, to provide defense and the territorial integrity of the state. So this specifically even being mentioned in the Quran, okay, for the role of the government, okay, and to provide the essential goods and services that market fails to adequately provide. So in the situation whereby there is recession or not recession, this is the role of the government. Whereas if there are recession, then the government has to enhance their role in fulfilling this mandate that is expecting from the community or from the population of the country. And like I mentioned, in terms of preparing the defense for the country, which has been stated in the Quran clearly in Surah Al-Fal. Okay, so then when we talk about the recession, like Dr. Siti has shared just now, it is a very difficult time whereby there will be challenging for us, and of course what will be very impacting to all of us is about when there is the situation, there is a increasing of the basic needs, especially for food. Okay, it will cause a very serious hardship for the household, particularly for the poor. And if this the situation, then even though Dr. Sijashiri have shared that this is something that is expected to happen, okay, but this is something that we do not have to be afraid of, but we have to prepare to face this situation. And from Islamic point of view, actually we know that recession or this economic instability or in economic hardship, from Islamic point of view, we know that this is a test from Allah. Okay, wala nabluwannakum bi syai'in minal khawfi wal ju', okay, wa naqsi minal amwal. So this is the situation whereby when the recession come, okay, this is the hardship that we may face, okay. So Allah has prepared us, okay, from spiritual perspective. This is the test, but of course as a Muslim, we have to think of what will be the way to overcome this collectively and not individually, because we need to see this, okay, collectively from Muslim point of view, not only to solve our own personal hardship, but collectively in the community. And of course, in terms of recession, okay, we know that even in Surah Yusuf, okay, this is what happened in Egypt, okay, whereby we know from the story of Yusuf, which is the story that we are familiar with, okay, whereby the king have the dream, and then this dream has been interpreted by Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, whereby there will be a situation in Egypt, okay, when the agriculture will not produce enough yield, okay, to supply food for the Egyptian people. And then so Prophet Yusuf asked the king, okay, to mitigate this situation by storing, okay, the agricultural products for to face that situation, okay. So for us, we know that this is the economic cycle, okay, that may happen, and we of course do not know in what year, in what time it may happen, but we always bear in mind that when this situation come or may come, okay, we must prepare that we should have some mitigation risk, okay, which is this is mostly the role of the government in preparing this situation, okay. And so that's why we look from the perspective of the government, okay, whereby the government have to take care, okay, the well-being, the welfare of the community, like I mentioned, even in the recession or not recession, okay, which is to prepare that the community and the society, okay, will have a very good quality of life, okay, and also to address, okay, the individual socio-economic, physical and psychological needs, okay, to ensure that people in the country is being taken care of, okay. And it is also important that when people are having the situation of they have the well-being situation, okay, so they may be more productive, okay, and also can contribute to the economy back, okay, in whatever situation the economy is, okay. So in Malaysian context, for example, to achieve this, we have Malaysian Wellbeing Index, which being measured based on the economic well-being and social well-being. So in achieving this, okay, there are few indicators for the economic well-being and also for the social well-being. So this is to ensure that people have been taken care of by the government. So like I mentioned, this is in the normal situation and what not in the situation whereby there is the challenge in the economic situation, okay. So if we look from the role of the government itself, we know that actually the government has prepare or have allocate a certain budget from the income of the government, from the revenue of the government, to be spent for the benefit of the people, including for the education, okay, to upgrade the employability, okay, to give and assist in terms of upgrading the social assistance, okay, for the community, to provide the opportunity for the people to actively and also benefit from the economics, from the market situation. Okay, so this is that has been done by the government, but is it enough? Do we need another sources? So that's why we come to talk about the Islamic public finance. But in Malaysia, for example, I think in Indonesia, similarly, the government, from the government's budget, which is actually also coming from the revenue of the tax. Okay, so people are actually being paying tax. So when we talk about tax, I would say that we cannot see tax as different source of revenue for the government. I mean, it's just not being seen as tax is not Islamic. Okay, because for me, I would say that tax is also Islamic. Okay, which is the contribution from the community, from the society, as our obligations. Okay, and I would say that we cannot separate, okay, income tax or tax that being like enforced, okay, to the society, to the population, that being collected by the government and then being spent for the benefit of the community and the society. But of course, for specific that we are going to talk about wakaf, zakat and whatnot, this is, we always term as this is the Islamic public finance. Okay, but for me, I would say that tax is also one of the contribution and our obligation to the country. Okay, because we have that obligation, and this can be seen, for example, during the Khalifah, okay, or the Khulafa al-Rashidin, when they impose jizya for non-Muslim, because the non-Muslim are not paying zakat. Okay, so they are collecting jizya. So jizya is like similar with tax. Okay, so that's why for me, I would say this is also not contradicting, okay, with Sharia, where when the government is collecting tax. But of course, what is the appropriate amount to be collected, how much to be collected, that's another session or another a debate on what will be considered as the appropriate of taking tax from the population or from the people in that particular country. So based on this, so we can see, for example, in the Malaysian context, the government has allocate and spend many of the revenue collected, okay, for the benefit of the society and especially for the poor. Okay, so for example, this is in year 2021, whereby the government has spent for B40 or the group of below income. Okay, so many initiative has been done, okay, which they have been given the financial assistance for the children. Okay, they also so because this is also during the COVID. Okay, and then they also have been given, for example, perlindungan tenang, or this is the micro takaful, and then they have been given with the supplementary meal plan. Okay, and then not only that, there are also the assistance or the allocation to help for the M40, the group which is in the M40, and they also have been given with the cash transfer, okay, up to 750 ringgit, Malaysia ringgit, okay, for those household income which is less of 4,000 or 4,500 500 ringgit. Okay, and they also been given like the easy loan moratorium. So this is among the assistance that have been given, and so the tax relief for the medical expenses. Okay, and other than that, for the women and children, okay, so there are also allocation of budget that have been allocated for them. Okay, because women and children being seen as component of the population which play a very significant role to the development of the community and the society. Okay, and then for the youth and for the sport, and also for the um, for the transportation facilities. Okay, and then for the disabled community, so this is also the very fragile community, and they are very in need of the support from the government. So this is what has been given, okay, not during the recession. But of course, during the recession, we can see that their expectation to be helped is higher, okay, compared to this normal situation. But because this is the budget that has been allocated during the COVID, so we can see that the government at least has played their role in terms of assisting the need from the community or the need of the population. And also there are the rural development initiative for education support, okay, at the primary and secondary education level, okay, by giving supplementary meal plan for the student, and also the cash transfers, which is the bantuan prihatin, which again being given to the those who are entitled, whereby the government has allocate 6.5 billion ringgit, and the beneficiaries who have benefit from this is 8.1 million population. Okay, and then there are also the support for the SME business continuity, because they need to be assisted for the development and the growth of the economy in a large scale. So that's why they are impacted, okay, during the COVID, and they also being given this assistance. And for higher education enhancement for the universities, okay, there are also support that has been given. And for those who maybe lost their job, okay, or still have job but with lower wages or salaries, they also been given the opportunity to go for training, to upskilling or reskilling their skills in order for them to get opportunity to go to get job in another sector, or to enhance their skill for a better job opportunity employment. And in terms of food security, which is the government, okay, has also allocated budget, okay, to enhance the food security, because as we know that there was a shortage of food and also the increasing of price. So the government helped, okay, to increase, okay, the supply chain of the food supply, okay, by allocating budget for modernization of the food supply chain. Okay, and then for modernization of the agriculture sector, which will help, okay, the output of the agricultural product itself, which can improve the growth of the economy. And other than that, for the empowering NGOs and ensuring the resources and environmental sustainability. So of course, at that particular year budget, the much being allocated to protect the community against the COVID. Okay, and then so that was the budget that been allocated by the government and has been spent from the revenue of the government, and especially we know that where the money that we have been contributing from the tax that we are paying being spent on. Okay, so that's why in terms of the Malaysian government has measured is the program that has been done, is it impact to the welfare of the community in Malaysia. So based on the Malaysian Wellbeing Index, okay, in year 2022, it seen that it decreased a little bit, 2.1% compared to year 2019, which is understood because of the COVID-19. Okay, so in terms of how the well-being index is being measured, there are few sub-composites, so I will not go through into this. Okay, but now I will go specifically to talk about the Islamic public finance. So on top of what has been done, okay, and we know that there is another complementary contribution from the community and the society that can be spent specifically for the Muslim community to enhance, okay, their well-being and their needs. Okay, and in Malaysian context, similar with Indonesia, we have zakat, wakaf, sedekah, and I would like to add on, there is another collection which is fidyah, because in Malaysia we pay fidyah to the authority also. Okay, and also non-syariah compliance money. So non-syariah compliance money may come from the banking institutions or from the individual person. Okay, so for example, for the banking institution, when they get the income which is based from riba or another non-syariah compliance sources, okay, they will not recognize this as their income, but they will channel or they will distribute this non-syariah compliant money to charitable purposes. They may distribute directly to the charitable body, or they will channel this to the Baitul Mal institution, whereby the Baitul Mal then will distribute this money to the charitable purpose. And if, let's say, okay, for another one is, if let's say the government have to borrow, then we will see that, okay, to be in line with the Islamic teaching spirit, okay, the Malaysian government, and I believe in Indonesia also, if we don't have choice, we have to borrow, we borrow through Islamic instrument, okay, through sukuk or Islamic securities, so that we are not involving the government source of money, okay, with riba. Okay, and we can see, for example, there are lots of sukuk that has been issued, okay, in Malaysian context, and I believe in Indonesia too. Okay, and then so if we look from Islamic public finance point of view, okay, so in Malaysia, since it is regulated, okay, the paying or the collection and distribution of zakat and wakaf and sedekah is collected by our Majlis Agama Islam Negeri, which is under the state in Malaysia. Okay, so there is the governance structure which is regulated and also overseen, okay, how much being collected, where it being collected. Okay, so that's why it is embedded with um, the 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 federal government source of revenue. Why I say this? Okay, so for example, if we are paying zakat, we are paying wakaf, okay, we are paying sedekah or no, donation, we also will get tax rebate, meaning we can reduce our tax. Okay, so that's why it has been integrated, and that's why many Malaysians, they will pay zakat, wakaf, sedekah to the institution, whereby the institution are having the tax rebate reduction. Okay, so that's why in terms of collection and the distribution, certain may be participated by Muslim and some will not be participated by non-Muslim. For zakat, for example, of course non-Muslim will not participated, but for donation and wakaf, sometimes there are non-Muslim who are participating. So in terms of collection, so I would say that in Malaysia, collection of zakat is nearly 3 billion ringgit. Okay, and we can see, for example, type of zakat that have been collected. It's not only zakat from wealth, but also it's not only zakat from fitrah, but also zakat from wealth. And zakat from wealth is from the salary, from business, from saving, from shares, from gold, from silver, okay, from agriculture, and from the livestock zakat. So this is an example of collection of zakat from Melaka, and this is example of collection of zakat from wilayah. So we can see collection from the zakat fitrah is not as much higher as the zakat of wealth, which is from salary reduction, salary, business and whatnot. Okay, so in terms of distribution, so much being collected and distributed. So these all the state in Malaysia. And we can see, for example, in wilayah persekutuan, okay, it has been distributed, and this is how many people have been benefited from the zakat that has been distributed, and they are either from the fakir and miskin or mu'allaf, okay, from ghorimin, ibn sabil, okay, all the categories have been distributed. And this is also the distribution for the Selangor, okay, similar asnaf have been given. And in terms of wakaf, okay, so in Malaysia we have the wakaf, cash wakaf, and also wakaf from the permanent asset or fixed asset. So in Malaysia, wakaf is not only contributing, okay, to support the Islamic public finance, but also in Malaysia, the government have also allocate certain budget to develop wakaf asset which benefit the community and the society. So that's why I mentioned earlier, when the government has allocate budget, okay, so in the 11 and 10 Malaysian plan, okay, and 12 Malaysian plan, okay, the Malaysian government has allocated, meaning the money from the tax that have been paid by the population has also been allocated to develop the wakaf asset, and whereby it have been used, okay, for the project, for the welfare, for the housing, for the economic empowerment, for health, and also for education. And other than that, of course, there are lots of wakaf that been contributed by the population, okay. So there are lots of cash wakaf being collected for education, for health, and for economic empowerment by all the states in Malaysia, because this is under the Majlis Agama Islam Negeri of Melaka, Pulau Pinang, Johor, Kelantan, Negeri Sembilan. But also there are the corporate institution in Malaysia, which is under Johor Corporation, whereby they, under their wakaf an-note, they are also actively contributing to wakaf. So this is, for example, what the program that they have been contributing. And other than that, for Islamic banking also in Malaysia now, Islamic banking, they have a specific, certain bank, they have specific department at the bank to collect wakaf and to distribute wakaf for the community. So it is collectively participating from many institutions. And in terms of the donation, we can see, for example, very active collection of infaq, similar I think with Indonesia, but this is the collection during the COVID-19. Malaysian government has launched Musaadah Fund, so lots have been collected and also being allocated by various Islamic institution, okay, which then being given to those who are impacted by COVID. And like I mentioned, for the fidyah, since many of us we pay fidyah, I mean we are not able to fast, and then we have to pay fidyah. So we pay fidyah to Majlis Agama Islam Negeri also. But unluckily, I do not have the statistic, but I only know have how much for fidyah that being paid for each day, for example, for those who are cannot fast, okay. But meaning this is the institution that is collecting, and then they will distribute this fidyah money to the poor and the needy. So for me, what will be take out for this, okay, which is what will be the factor that may contribute to the successful of the Islamic public finance, okay. Of course, the first one would be the knowledge and awareness, okay. So the knowledge and the awareness, okay, understanding that, for example, if we are contributing, we are paying even tax, we are paying zakat, we are paying we are contributing to wakaf and whatnot. This is something that is from Islamic point of view, okay. This is our infaq, okay, fi sabilillah, which is in line with our spiritual belief, okay. And of course, it may enhance the collection if there are very large marketing, okay, all mechanism being used. And not only that, the medium of contribution should be diversified so that all can contribute. And professional management, okay, so collect and distribute should be managed by the professional management. So for example, in certain Majlis Agama Islam Negeri in Malaysia, now they have combination, not only the religious people, but they also have professional who are sitting in the institution, so that, for example, if they want to invest the zakat money from the amil portion, for example, or they want to invest the cash wakaf, okay, what will be the best investment that can give higher return, profit, which can grow the fund that they are managing. Of course, other than that, transparency, because if we know where our money being allocated, we will be very supportive and we will continuously to contribute. And other than that, I think for the government has to take on, for example, if they want to take sukuk rather than conventional bond, it should be political will. The government have to take that path, okay. And in terms of giving tax incentive rebate for zakat payment or wakaf and donation, so in Malaysia, for example, we will get tax rebate. So like I mentioned earlier, if for example I have to pay income tax, just for example, if I have to pay income tax of, let's say 1 million rupiah, 1 million 1 juta rupiah, let's say. So if I paid zakat, okay, for example, I paid zakat 500,000 rupiah. So I only have to pay tax 500 RM500,000 saja. So it is embedded. So in Malaysia, many of us, many of us are, so when we pay zakat and wakaf, okay, when we get the tax rebate, okay, we feel that we are contributing to the country, and at the same time we are also fulfilling our religious obligation. Okay, and of course the role of the Islamic scholars, which to see what would mean in terms of giving fatwa. So I think this is a very important, whereby um, Universitas Islam Indonesia, or UIN Banjarmasin, okay, Antasari Banjarmasin. I think this is our role, which is in helping on supporting the fatwa, which is very dynamic. What I mean is that, for example, in terms of zakat, for example, okay, there should be the fatwa that make the payment or the collection of zakat should be flexible. For example, we now understand that when zakat should be collected in this year and should be distributed in this year. This is what we understand. This is what we have been practicing. But in terms of sustainability, and when we are also are facing the recession, is there any Sharia principle that enable us that the zakat that being collected every year, should we have certain portion to be allocated in the fund, okay, to to be spent in the situation whereby the hardship which never been think of before may happen, like COVID, severe recession, for example. Of course, we need the scholars who can see these matters and giving fatwa. Is there any Sharia principle? So, for example, based on maslahah or based on hajah, is it possible? Because so this is one of the example. Other than that, maybe another way out is, for example, for the amil, their portion, okay, they can invest their portion, so that this money or the portion from the amil, when it be invested, it may grow and grow and grow, and then this will be used during the hardship. Okay, so and another thing is, for example, about the what will be another source of zakat, what will be another source of wakaf. So this is the dynamic of fatwa, and this is how the scholars, who many of us who are studying Islamic studies, can give their contribution in terms of this matter. So I think Madam Chairperson, Ibu Nawita, so I would like to end my presentation, and thank you very much, and hopefully I have shared a little bit about what is Malaysian context in terms of Islamic public finance, and especially to face the recession. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Asma binti Abdraman. Thank you very much for that. She has given us today her material on Islamic public finance and also her view in the Malaysian perspective in particular. So we informed today on the role of public finance and how the government is playing a crucial role in improving the welfare of the people. We are exposed of how the higher cost of living, particularly for low income households, but we also reminded that economic recession is the hardship that we might face, and we can face it collectively, if not individually, in terms of the community wide. So the government can ensure the well-being to achieve a certain standard of living and equality of life. And personally, since I have stayed in the country myself, I have experienced firsthand of how the government programs has really elevated the living of those in its land. So in the Malaysian context, it was measured by the we- WMI, was it not mistaken, the well-being index with several indicators that the federal government has allocated budget for, where tax has critical role and not seen as a non-Islamic component regarding to our obligations to the society or community collected by the government and spent on the community and society. We also saw how so many programs in Malaysia where the government has allocated to 8.1 billion of the households to higher education enhancements, rural development, to the SMEs securing employment and also food security, how the government enters the supply chain to actually modernizing the agricultural sector to assist in output. And also the government in Malaysia collectively, they play a part in collection and distribution and also gives tax rebates to its citizens in their zakat giving activities. So wakaf in Islamic public finance is also allocated a portion for the development of the wakaf assets. So that was added by Dr. Asma so that we can grow Wakaf assets in order to improve the welfare, economic empowerment, health, and education. There are much more that she discussed, but I will wrap it up in a simple key takeaway. So, how in the awareness now it is in line to our spiritual belief, our fisabilillah. She said that in the case of in the cause of Allah that we are doing this, and hopefully there are more professional bodies and seats in the institutional to merit from the fund growth, to incorporate the principles of transparency and accountability, and that the government will be willing to take part politically to help contribute to the growth of this wakaf support and the dynamic of fatwa, so that there are flexible collective payments and channels to in order for us to receive it and allocate it to anticipate incoming economic meltdowns, right? Based on the maslahah, such as giving out a portion of the amil source to grow funds from investment activities, for example, from another source. So with that, we thank you very much, Dr. Asma, for your session. And next we have, ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the Q&A or discussion session. We are glad to receive many questions from you all today, but due to time limitation, we may only select for the time being the first three most voted question first for our speakers. Please let's hear it from the distinguished participants. You may convey your questions forward. You can do so by raising your hand. Let us operators know. Any raised hands? There are several chats here, ma'am, and we may start from these. There's this question. I will pick out the question from Elman Nafizi. That is one. What is the strategy of the Malaysian government? Therefore, it's headed for Dr. Asma. The Malaysian government in distributing this swab so that it is right on the target for the 8 asnaf. Is the role of politics also influential in the distribution? The second question is from Ahmad Nur Alfi. One of the government's way to collect public funds besides the swap is with the investation instruments, retail suku, suku retail Indonesia. In Indonesia, we have SRI. Is the hope of profit from investment, he said, in dunya orientation can be a strategy to increase Islamic public finance besides the swap. We hope both of our speakers can answer some of these. And there is there a raised hand? Mrs. Lista, maybe we can. We have here another question from Mrs. Lista, that is, seeing the development of the Indonesian Islamic financial economy of the world, how is the development of Ziswa after the pandemic? And how is the development of stock wakaf? So that's the capital market influence in Malaysia. We can increase state finance, because she said, seeing that Indonesia has regulation, but the stock wakaf is still not running effectively in the country. Thank you. With that, I will let maybe Dr. Asma first to give her remarks, and we will continue on to Dr. Siti Aciria. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Novita. So maybe I answer the one which is about the strategy of Malaysian government.
Yes.
Okay, so what is the strategy of the Malaysian government in distributing zakat wakaf and sedekah? So basically, like I mentioned, zakat wakaf, which is managed at the state level. Okay, so at the state level, they have department. Okay, which is we receive the application and then we'll distribute. Okay, so they have like list of the eligible asnaf. Okay, and then they also have the new asnaf which may apply for that. Okay, and they will have the assessment. Okay, they will do the assessment, and one way of the assessment, they will look into their hadul kifayah. Okay, and for this hadul kifayah, which they will always do research and revise according to the economic situation, because hadul kifayah, which is the main criteria, okay, which is to determine either the applicant is fall under asnaf or not, and may fall in which asnaf. Okay, so this hadul kifayah, which is being assessed based on their food necessities, their transportation, their housing, their facility. So there are certain criteria that may assess. So if, for example, the applicant come and apply, if their income is lesser from their hadul kifayah, then they are eligible. Okay, but so there are few way of distributing. Okay, they have the list which who are eligible. I mean, they have put in the list for like, for example, for disabled person. So for disabled person, veteran citizen, so like this has become the list, the like permanent list. Okay, but there will be the newcomer. I mean, based on their economic situation, then they may apply. Okay, but they also working with another institution. Okay, so for example, the zakat that being paid by the institution. Okay, so for example, many of the Islamic bank in Malaysia, takaful company in Malaysia, corporate body in Malaysia are paying zakat, and of course they will pay zakat to this body, this Majlis Agama Islam Negeri. Okay, so there are also certain wakalah, okay, which will be given to this institution. So for example, Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad, okay, they pay zakat to Majlis Agama Islam Wilayah. Okay, they will be given certain portion for them as wakalah on behalf of the Majlis Agama Islam Negeri Okay, dia zakat that they paid to Majlis Agama Islam Negeri. So this wakalah then they will distribute for those who apply through Bank Islam, or Bank Islam has recognized the recipient. After that, Bank Islam have to send the report list of recipient to Majlis Agama Islam Negeri. At UM, for example, Universiti Malaya, we our staff pay zakat to Majlis Agama Islam Negeri, but UM has been appointed as the amil. So we collect, and then from this collection we pay to Majlis Agama Islam Negeri Wilayah. Then Majlis Agama Islam Negeri Wilayah also will give a certain percentage for Universiti Malaya's own distribution to the staff and student. So, and of course, for this institution, we have the committee. Like in UM, we have zakat committee. Like in the bank, they have zakat committee. So, for example, another institution, for example, like FGV, they are paying zakat. They also have the committee, which will look into who are the asnaf. And of course, in terms of defining the asnaf, who is the fakir, who is the miskin, who is fisabilillah, who is a riqab, who is gharimin, we will follow the definition from Majlis Agama Islam Negeri. And on this note, we all, like I mentioned, this is also the dynamic of fatwa, because who is the gharimin in current state, in current situation. The fatwa will define who is the gharimin in current state. So this is the evolving. So that's why fatwa always play a role. So that's why it's not like frozen. I mean, in terms of defining this asnaf. Okay. So that at the end of the day, the recipient of the zakat, I mean, will be known. Okay, who have been given or who have received the zakat. But of course, there are still those who want to self-distribute. But of course, if they distribute on their own, they will not get income tax rebate. And for individual, like for me, for example, like I mentioned, I mean, we always go for paying zakat to the zakat institution because we want the tax rebate, because we also will be given the wakalah zakat. So for example, when I get wakalah zakat from my zakat that I paid, I know that my neighbors, my students, my family, they are in need of zakat and entitled to get zakat. So from the wakalah portion that I get, then I will give to them. So I mean, the governance structure that we have in Malaysia that make us like we don't have to think of either income tax or zakat. I mean, we can do both because the system assisting us in fulfilling our obligation. So I think maybe I have answered part of the question because let's
Yes,
yeah, I think yeah.
that was very extensive. And now we know how in Malaysia it is well managed by the state level to receive and allocate the distribution, and how they already have a list, like how the various citizens are incorporated to that list. And they will compare it to their income levels and Hadul Kifaya. And only then they will go through Majelis Agama Islam Negeri and then distribute it back to the corporate bodies, rebates and wakala zakat, for which we can then pick out the closest member to our family and our society to also increase their welfare and further improve their lives. What about from Dr. Siti Achiria? Do you have anything to say about how do you think that the Indonesian government probably, are they right on the target on the 8 asnaf, or how deep is the level of political connection influence the distribution? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Uh, we can see I will edit from Dr. Asma from question of Lista Aisyah. We can see from Basnas, Basnas ever get appreciation Global Good Governance Sustainable Development Goals Champion Award 2020 to 2020. Appreciation from Cambridge International Financial Advisory, IFA. It means that Basnas can Basnas win to build how sustainable global from zakat. Nah, jadi di masa pandemi sesuatu yang berhasil ini luar biasa ya untuk Basnas. Gitu. Then in society, Basnas, I mean from zakat, support to pandemic from education, from health, social, and so on. So can be sesuatu yang membanggakan ya, karena can help community from zakat. And from Wakaf too, also Badan Wakaf Indonesia focusing on pandemic, the imbal hasil wakaf uang, I mean kemanfaatan wakaf ya, manfaat wakaf, beneficiaries of wakaf, focusing on pandemic. So is it show to us that zakat, infak, sedekah, and wakaf can ensure to contribute in pandemic. I say it like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Ibu Novita, maybe I would like to add on, is there any political influence? Okay. So I think in terms of that, on that question, I think since we have the zakat committee, okay, which is responsible on assessing. So yes, there is, I mean, the situation whereby there are attempt, I would say, from the political influence, okay, to interject into this zakat distribution. But I think as far as I know, the zakat committee with their accountability, they always, I mean, try not to entertain, okay, the political demand that this zakat should be distributed to particular group or particular project which are associated with politics. Because like I mentioned, the transparency, because when the report being published, okay, the public know that where this zakat or wakaf being distributed, and it may tarnish the reputation, and then the society may not keen, okay, to distribute, to pay the zakat to that institution. So I think so far as I know, okay, the zakat committee has played their role in terms of ensuring that zakat is not being influenced by any political demand or any political influences. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Asma, Dr. Sisti. They both have explained to us collaboratively as how to wakaf and zakat, especially in Indonesia, that with Basnas, which helped the pandemic recovery, and that it is nationwide used for all sorts of sources, education, health, social, and that they both emphasize that wakaf and zakat, be it that in Indonesia or in Malaysia, has both exponential potential to be managed collectively with the transparency to ensure that the benefits that we can reap together as a society is much more uh, from the ZISWA. And then it was added by Dr. Asmat that on the politics side, there is the committee that is overseeing how it's distributed and the tendency to which um, uh, uh, an individual or so is eliminated by the report published, and that there are a reputation of risks that can hurt certain corporate bodies if they um, does not allow that to happen. So we thank you very much for your answers. Now we move on to the next question. We still have several time. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to raise their hand? Please do so. So the second question was, I'm sorry, the first we had answered, and second from Mrs. Lida, we also have answered. Oh, and then there's a stock wakaf, ma'am, to Dr. Siti or Dr. Asmak. How is it the development of stock wakaf? Should we touch on that, and how is it running a little bit on both sides in Indonesia or in Malaysia? Thank you.
The city in the, maybe you want to share on the sukuk wakaf or what are the development first, and then I will add on that.
Okay, thank you. Maybe it's relate with a question from Yulian Makmun, Saudara Yulian Makmun. They ask, oh, sorry, I'm sorry. From Ahmad Nur Alfianto, asked about sukuk, right? He asked about is the hope of profit from investment from sukuk. I think sukuk as a Sharia securities, which are usually issued by government to help finance of development in the country, usually include in like wakaf. Jadi wakaf uang, or cash wakaf, after be collect, it must be developed or more made for more productive. For example, for deposits and then sukuk and then shares, saham. It depends on the choice of the wakaf management institution. It means that sukuk can be a strategy to improve Syariah public finance, although he include in wakaf, I say like that. Dan pemerintah have a cash wakaf link sukuk ya, CWLS, and have about three times maybe ya. Okay, so it means the sukuk can be memiliki harapan ya, as a profit to develop public syariah finance in Indonesia. Jadi di dalamnya zisbab itu, di dalamnya wakaf itu sudah ada untuk unsur sukuknya, karena suku itu dikembangkan untuk menjadi pilihan ya untuk memproduktifkan aset wakaf uangnya, di samping ada deposito ataupun saham begitu. Maybe itu, ya. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Siti. Probably added by Dr. Asma.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Navita. So in Malaysia, in terms of the wakaf shares, so actually there was one of the initiative for the wakaf shares, which is the um, wakaf saham Lakin Central. We have been issued to get money to um, enhance the central the central for bus station in Johor, and it was the initiative between Wakaf An-Nur, like I mentioned, the corporate body Wakaf An-Nur just now, and also Majlis Agama Islam Johor. Okay, and this Wakaf saham of Lakin has been used for the purpose of um, build, okay, the Lakin Central Station, okay, and then for the for this wakaf saham, okay, I think this
Disuruh
is
disuruh Luna, disuruh dosennya lo. Anu aja.
so this is one of the example, okay. Other than that, there are also wakaf or unit trust, okay, which is also being offered by the fund manager. So we have, for example, unit trust with wakaf features from Maybank Asset Management and also BIMB Investment. Okay, so um, they wakaf their dividend from this unit trust. Okay, and other than that, for the initiative of, for example, when Malaysian government issue sukuk prihatin, okay, to combat COVID-19, okay, so this sukuk prihatin, there's no element of wakaf embedded in the sukuk prihatin, but this is the retail sukuk prihatin, this is the retail sukuk, but the sukuk holders, they may choose not to take the profit given by this sukuk, but they choose to donate their sukuk profit back to the government. So I mean, that was the initiative during the COVID. Okay, so I think that, and for the wakaf of shares itself, which is been done by the individual person, okay, so there are lots of wakaf shares. This is being offered by the institution with Majlis Agama Islam Negeri, but for individual initiative, for example, if person who have shares and they want to make it as wakaf, okay, there is lots of that kind of wakaf. So we have to see that this is either the wakaf shares being offered by the institution or individual person who have the shares and he want to make this shares as wakaf. So this is also the practice. And thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Asma. There she has elaborated that there are several bodies like the Majelis Agama Islam of Johor, building the Laking Central Station, for example, was issuing by the suku, several suku. And also there was suku prihatin, which were, there is no element of wakaf embedded, but the sukuk holders may choose to donate their profit and not spend it on their own and donate it back to the government in order to boost programs to the society, to their people. With that, I think we have addressed some of the questions, and maybe we can elaborate just for the closing on the wakaf-based system applied to state educational institutions. Maybe maybe Dr. Asma, you can help us see how it is applied to educational institution. As you know, in our country, there are comprehensive outside of the state-based, and the kind of walk-up days is actually helping it sustain its self-reliability in having financial independency from having to manage that.
Okay, so you mean for education, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So for in Malaysia, for the education, I mean, I will talk about, I mean, for the, like, for like tafiz, madrasah, pesantren, there are lots of wakaf that have been done. This is the traditional wakaf that being practiced, okay?
Tradition.
But at the higher level educational institution, okay, at the higher educational institution, because under the Malaysian education blueprint, whereby the Malaysian government has encouraged to give the encourage or to call for the higher educational institution, especially the government higher educational institution, to find or to find another alternative funding, and not depend much on the budget from the government. Okay, so the government has published purple book. Okay, so this purple book, whereby it has been stated what is the strategy for the universities, okay, higher education in Malaysia, to get funding from their like business activities, from endowment and from wakaf. So basically for endowment, many universities, they already have their endowment fund. Like in I think have like 500 million endowment and ringgit, 500 million ringgit and plus for endowment. Okay, but the initiative have been done to establish the wakaf fund at the university level. And now basically most all the universities which is government university, funded by the universities, now we have the wakaf initiative. So this wakaf initiative either being managed by the unit, the center, or under the treasury office. Okay, so basically it become one of the agenda, meaning at the Ministry of Higher Education, this wakaf collection, wakaf activities should be reported to the Ministry of Higher Education. Okay, and so that, for example, during the meeting among the VCs, among the treasurer, okay, one of the agenda or one of the issue that they may discuss is about, okay, how much this is collected, what is the initiative, what you have done, so what is your, how do you distribute. So it become like a mainstream requirement for all the universities. Okay, so like in we also have this wakaf initiative. But again, because wakaf, in terms of the governance, it, even though this is the encouragement from the Ministry of Higher Education, it cannot be stay outside from the governance of Majlis Agama Islam Negeri. Meaning if or any university, they want to collect wakaf, they still need to get approval from Majlis Agama Islam Negeri where the university is located. Like for we get permission from Majlis Agama Islam Wilayah. So like UKM, for example, they get approval from Majlis Agama Islam Selangor to become the mutawalli, because the governance structure in Malaysia, the Nazir is Majlis Agama Islam Negeri or Majlis Agama Islam Negeri, and then we can be appointed as mutawalli by the Nazir, by the Majlis Agama Islam Negeri. And then of course this mutawalli appointment will be given like for 3 years, 5 years, and then they may continue, and then we have to give the report. So, and we have to collect within our territory. Meaning we cannot go and do promotion in Selangor, for example. We cannot go and do promotion in Kelantan, for example. But with this technology with the online transaction. Of course, anybody who want to contribute, they can help. Okay, so I think with this, in terms of the wakaf at the higher education, I think UPM is Universiti Putra Malaysia is among the university which have a very proactive and advanced in terms of their wakaf collection and wakaf distribution project. So I think that's all in terms of experience in Malaysia.
Thank you. That was informational. What about Dr. Siti? Do you have anything to say on the wakaf-based system that's applied now to the education institution, be it in smaller education or higher education in university? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. About state education institution, I think very positive if have lembaga pengelola wakaf ya. We know that Erlangga University, UNER in Surabaya, become the first university to receive Nazir of Cash Wakaf manager from the Indonesian Wakaf Board, from BWI, Badan Wakaf Indonesia. There is ITB too, Institut Teknologi Bandung, as a university, that a state education institution that have manage of wakaf. Then I remember that the chairman of the Indonesian Wakaf Board, Mr. Muhammad Nuh, said that BWI, Indonesian Wakaf Board, have wakaf goes to campus program. It means that very sesuatu yang menggembirakan, very exciting for us that campus can manage the wakaf, especially maybe cash wakaf. Then I have I said that so many benefits if a university manage wakaf. The first about education or alliteration, for our students, for our scholar, the wakaf is the sleeping giant that must be managed from university. And then the second is the benefit of the people from wakaf that we collect from campus. It's very important, a lot of potential, because so many students, so many scholars will support this. Then the third is wakaf in university can create a culture of wakaf from academic circle. It's very important. It's very good, I think, and Indonesia will ramai dengan pengelola wakaf uang. Dan fastabiqul khairat, we will together to mencapai, to achieve berapa tadi, 188 trillion from potential of wakaf. I think like that. Terima kasih. Thank you.
MashaAllah, 188 trillion of wakaf potential. That was Dr. Siti Achiria's, I think, a good closing remark. Yeah, how the extension of this managing wakaf fund will hope to amplify and be a multiplier effect, to also probably be as professionally managed as that in the Malaysian region, yeah, Dr. Asma, on how it started off by the traditional way, and now the higher education, the government publishing the Purple Book, and now the endowment activities is actually creating and incentivizing the establishment of Wakaf Fund, where we see the UM has like 500 ringgit Malaysia, I think, and there are more under treasury offices in all sorts of corporate bodies that we see in the developed nation of Malaysia. Yeah, hopefully we can also apply the same on how much and what initiatives and how the distribution process, all those mainstream activities, and be appointed by the Mutawali to also be able to publish report and gain public trust. And Dr. Asbak, do you have any closing remark, or would you like to add anything to say before we close the session? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Nawita. So just to add on wakaf education. So I think when Dr. Siti Ashiria mentioned about wakaf of Al-Azhar, okay, so we know that actually for the wakaf initiative, wakaf at the higher education or wakaf for education, when actually, for example, we know that this idea, okay, or this practice or this culture has been practiced by Harvard University, Oxford University, whereby they have billion of endowment. Okay, so whereby we like see before this, I mean our perspective is like this. Why we want to give? Because this is the role of the government. Because this is many of the perception of the people. Why I have to give and contribute to the higher education, for the healthcare? What is the role of the government? Why should I contribute? So I mean because of this, whereby in Western countries, we see, for example, why Harvard University, MIT, Oxford, they get so much money for endowment, and there's no such of debating of what I have to give. This is the role of the government. So so we see different things, different philosophy, whereby like Dr. Siti mentioned, like Indonesia, you are the most generous people on the planet, but and yet we still want to argue on that. Okay, so I think when we look at how much Howard and Oxford, MIT have been collecting, okay, and Cambridge have been collecting, for example, and because they're being managed professionally, and so meaning that, for example, when I have the opportunity to go and do research at Oxford and Cambridge University, we meet their endowment fund manager. So who are managing their fund? So the person who are managing their fund previously was working with the bank. Meaning they had the professional fund manager so that they can see what type of investment that they should invest, and then what is the strategy. So this should be done professionally. Okay, and so that's why I think with the awareness and continuous awareness and sharing, maybe we want to contribute without having the doubt that why should I, but what can I do to infaq with the intention, with the niyat fi sabilillah, and then hopefully our intention being accepted by Allah as our good deeds, which can become our sodaqatun jariyatun. So we learn, we understand, we act on what we believe. So I think, yeah, that's all from me. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Dr. Siti, would you like anything to add?
Okay, maybe just little things. Let's be wakaf together as a culture in our respective environment in our campus. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a really nice slogan. Let's create an ecosystem. Dr. Siti said, and that the idea of wakaf education, the culture with billions of endowments, and that there is a structural that is systemic actually in Indonesia, but the people are generous, like Dr. Siti said. We just need to add in professionality and transparency and accountability to managing these, and hopefully in the future we can really reap the potential of these wakaf funds. I mean, Thank you to both our speakers, our distinguished speakers, Dr. Asma Abdurrahman and also Dr. Siti Achiria for today's sharing. Um, Next, I would like to hand over to our host and MC for today. Thank you all for your time. Wabillahi taufiq wabillahi hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
To our both speakers today. Thank you for our moderator today, Mrs. Novita Alfinuri, BSc MA. And once again, I wanna want to all the participants to give applause to our both speaker today in the international webinar, Dr. Siti Aisyiria and Professor Asma bin Abdurrahman. Ladies and gentlemen, we urge you, all the participants, to open your camera because after this one, we will have photo session together. Kami himbau kepada seluruh peserta agar membuka atau mengaktifkan kameranya karena setelah ini kita akan beralih ke sesi foto bersama. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we urge to all of you to open your camera because after this one, we will have photo session together. Yeah, so please give your best smile and pose. Give your best smile and pose. On my count, 1, 2, 3. Okay, for slide 2, give your best smile and pose. 1, 2, 3. Okay, all right. For the next slide, yes, give your best smile and pose. 1, 2, 3. Okay, for the next slide, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and this is the last one. Give your best smile and pose. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much. Uh, all of the participants, ladies and gentlemen, we now come to the end of this agenda. Let's close today's event by saying Hamdallah together. I'm Tara Amalia Diandra as your mistress of ceremony. Please apologize if there's many things that we are not pleasing and mistaken. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum.
Terima kasih Ibu semua dari
Waalaikumsalam.
Malaysia, dari UII. Terima kasih, salam hormat kami dari TV. Terima kasih moderator.
Jelas ya.
Ini nih, tahu gak sih, KSPM UIN Antasari keren banget. Bukan ada acaranya meriah, tapi juga acaranya berbobot, melibatkan segala komponen mahasiswa. Sehingga kita semua rame-rame insya Allah nih jadi investor baru Indonesia. Indonesia makin keren.
Perkenalkan, nama saya Elvani Ahmad Fauzi dari Universitas Negeri Semarang dan rekan saya Ahmad Rahmatullah. Kami dari Universitas Negeri Semarang. Untuk tanggapan dari IW atau Antasari Investment Week ini ya, menurut kami Antasari Investment Week ini sudah cukup proper untuk lomba pemenangan saham juga ya. Walaupun mungkin beberapa kendala terjadi pada saat pra grand final, namun pada saat eksekusi acaranya, jujur kami sendiri juga nggak expect kalau acaranya bakalan sebagus ini loh. Dimulai dari konsumsinya, terus dimulai dari juga fasilitas hotel, terus dimulai dari juga lokasi-lokasinya yang menurut kami juga cukup fantastis lah, dari di luar ekspektasi kami dan di luar dugaan kami. Ya, tambah lagi juga